Greetings and welcome to today's Extraordinary Connection. My name is Pastor Devin and I serve at Romeo United Methodist Church, and thank you for taking a minute to click the link in your email, or maybe from Facebook or Twitter, or maybe you just stop by the site every now and then. However you find yourself here today, maybe it's your first time that you're watching. However you got here, thank you. Glad to have you join me for this time today. This past Sunday in worship, we were reading in 1 Corinthians. We were talking about the spiritual gifts that Paul has listed there. And during that time, I encouraged those of the congregation to listen to those gifts as I read them, to consider where some of their own gifts may lie. If there was something they were being called to, being nudged to by the Spirit. But then after, I also took a moment and asked them to hear the list of gifts read again. But this time, as I read them, I asked them to listen and to consider if they heard a gift read that perhaps another person might have. They heard a gift that a friend or a family member, a coworker, a neighbor, whoever it might be, if they heard something listed that was about that person. And I encourage them, if they heard a gift that they thought another had, to tell that person, to share it, and encourage them to use that spiritual gift. Well, a little later in the day, I had the youth group gathered for their weekly meeting. And I intended to have a similar conversation to talk about the spiritual gifts. But during the course of our conversation, it went a little sideways, just a little. If you've ever done youth ministry, you know that this is not an unusual thing to happen. And this wasn't a bad sideways. Our entire conversation wasn't sidetracked. But in our conversation, the topic of giving thanks came up. Those students that were gathered, they recognized that many of the ministries, many of the fun activities that we have at the church, the very room that they were sitting in, it's only possible because of so many faithful members who have put their spiritual gifts to work. They've made those opportunities possible because they've followed the Spirit's leading for their lives. And as we followed this thankful train of thought, my planned activity actually got kind of thrown out the window. And I instead found myself sitting around a table with a group of students making thank you cards. I encouraged them to make a thank you card for one of the teachers or leaders of the Odyssey youth program we have here at the church, for one of our music leaders, for someone from the church that has helped them see God's love in a special way. But then as we made those letters, I also encouraged them to go a step further, to look outside the walls of just our church, and to also make a thank you card or two, if needed, for a parent or a teacher or a neighbor or a friend, someone who has made a difference in their life by encouraging them, by supporting them, by lifting them up so that they can use their God-given gifts, that they can use those spiritual gifts. I have to admit, it was kind of fun. As we sat and made the cards, I got to hear them share about why they were making a particular card for a particular person, what they had done for them, or a memory they recalled from their times together. And there you can see a few of the cards that they made. I regretted that I didn't get a picture of all of them together, but I did love seeing their creativity on display as they took a moment to offer a word of thanks. It made for a meaningful time of reflection and recognizing that God has put many, many people in our lives' paths. That just because we may not hear the literal voice of God telling us what it is we are to do, it does not mean that God isn't right there alongside us, leading us, sending others into our lives to lead us where we are needed. So if you have a chance this week, get out the supplies. Get out some paper, the crayons, markers, scissors, whatever you might have. Maybe take a moment and send a thank you note or two of your own. Heck, even if you don't get out the supplies, take a minute and send a text message or an email. Or if you're really old school, I understand these things can still make phone calls even. Do that if that's what you prefer. Take a minute. Offer a word of thanks to someone who made a difference. While you're at it, take a minute to offer a word of thanks to God for all those leaders, all those teachers, all those people who have been a part of our own faith journeys. Until next time, my friends, stay safe, Take care, and God bless.